There is a quiet strength in the way truly strong people handle disrespect. It is not loud, it is not reactive, but it is profound. Many people confuse reacting with being strong, believing that defending themselves with words or anger proves their power. But strength is not measured by how loudly you can argue or how quickly you can retaliate. It is measured by how firmly you stand in your integrity, while others attempt to shake you. When faced with disrespect, strong people do not immediately give themselves away to the whims of someone else's anger, jealousy, or ignorance. They understand that responding impulsively is easy, but it is also temporary. Reacting without thought only fuels the cycle of negativity, whereas choosing a deliberate, composed response preserves energy, dignity, and peace. The first thing strong people do when they are disrespected is they pause before they respond. This may sound simple, but it is deceptively powerful. A pause creates space, a moment to step back from the immediate emotional surge, to breathe, to center the mind, and to evaluate the situation objectively. When someone disrespects you, your body releases a surge of adrenaline, your pulse quickens, your thoughts race, and your ego demands immediate justice. It is a natural response, almost reflexive, to react. But strong people understand that reacting immediately is rarely the path to strength. The pause allows them to separate the insult from their own self-worth. They do not allow someone else's behavior to dictate their energy. In that pause, they create the space for clarity, and in clarity lies true power. During this pause, strong people also remind themselves of a fundamental truth. The disrespect belongs to the other person, not to them. When someone chooses to act poorly, it is a reflection of their own limitations, insecurities, or lack of wisdom. Disrespect often arises from fear, envy, or frustration, and it is not necessarily a reflection of reality or your worth. By internalizing this understanding, strong people do not absorb the negativity thrown their way. They remain grounded, knowing that their self-worth is not contingent on someone else's perception. Silence and reflection replace the impulse to strike back, and through this, they maintain an inner stability that others may not comprehend at first glance. Another powerful action strong people take is they set boundaries without confrontation. True strength is not about retaliation, it is about protecting oneself while maintaining dignity. Boundaries can be physical, emotional, or verbal, and they communicate that certain behaviors are unacceptable without creating conflict. For instance, a simple withdrawal from the conversation, a calm statement of limits, or a decision to distance oneself from a toxic person communicates far more than arguing or shouting ever could. In doing so, strong people assert their value without lowering themselves to the level of those who disrespect them. This is a lesson in self-respect. You do not need to fight to prove your worth. You need to enforce your own standards consistently and quietly. Strong people also reflect deeply on the situation to extract lessons. Disrespect, while unpleasant, is a mirror. It reveals patterns in others, and sometimes even patterns within ourselves. A strong person does not dwell on resentment or revenge. They analyze, observe, and learn. They ask themselves, why did this person behave this way? Is there a lesson about human nature here? Is there a boundary I need to strengthen? This reflective approach transforms negative encounters into opportunities for growth. Instead of being consumed by the disrespect, they channel their energy into understanding and self-improvement. They realize that life is teaching them resilience, patience, and strategic awareness, all through the very moments that challenge them. Perhaps one of the most remarkable things strong people do is they refuse to seek validation from those who disrespect them. In a world where opinions are plentiful and criticism is easy, it is tempting to justify oneself, explain actions, or defend character to others. But strong people understand that validation is internal, not external. They do not need the approval of the one who belittles them. Their confidence comes from a grounded sense of self and consistent alignment with their principles. By refusing to engage in the desperate pursuit of approval, they maintain control over their emotions, conserve their energy, and demonstrate a quiet, undeniable power. The disrespected person who remains confident in themselves demonstrates a mastery that cannot be undermined by mere words. Lastly, strong people trust in the law of karma or natural consequences. They understand that what goes around comes around. Someone who disrespects, deceives, or manipulates is sowing seeds that will eventually return to them. Instead of expending energy on retaliation, strong individuals step aside and let life deliver justice in its own time. They focus on building their own life, honing their character, and living with integrity. Their silence, patience, and continued dedication to what is right allow karma to operate naturally. Over time, the actions of others bear their own consequences, often more powerfully than any words of retaliation could achieve. In this way, strong people remain untouchable by disrespect, not through confrontation, but through alignment with truth and the natural order. When someone is disrespectful, it is easy to feel small, powerless, or frustrated. But strong people know that true power is not measured by temporary victories or loud rebuttals. It is measured by the ability to remain composed, to act from integrity, and to maintain peace even when chaos surrounds them. Every disrespectful moment becomes a test of patience, wisdom, and self-control. By pausing, understanding the source of the behavior, setting boundaries, reflecting on lessons, refusing external validation, and trusting in karma, they transform moments of insult into demonstrations of unshakable strength. Through these actions, strong people teach the world an essential lesson: disrespect cannot touch you unless you allow it to. Strength is not a reaction. Strength is a state of being, the quiet mastery of emotions, the discipline to pause, the courage to set boundaries, and the wisdom to trust in natural consequences. All these define a life that is resilient, grounded, and unbreakable. By adopting these principles, anyone can begin to navigate the challenges of disrespect with grace, power, and clarity, turning moments of insult into opportunities for growth and self-mastery. Strength is not always visible, and it is rarely loud. Many people confuse aggression or harsh words with strength, believing that dominance is proven by how forcefully one can retaliate. But true strength, the kind that endures, grows, and inspires, reveals itself in silence, composure, and deliberate action. When strong people are disrespected, they understand that reacting impulsively is the path to chaos. They recognize that disrespect is often a reflection of the other person's insecurity, jealousy, or misunderstanding, rather than a true measure of their worth. The first lesson strong individuals embrace is that self-control is a declaration of power. The ability to remain calm when provoked is a signal to the world, and to themselves, that their peace cannot be bought or broken by anyone else. Strong people know that disrespect can be a mirror. In every insult, slight, or unfair critique, there is a hidden truth about human behavior, about fear, ego, and the way negativity manifests in the world. Instead of reacting with anger, they observe, they ask themselves, what is motivating this person? Why do they feel the need to belittle or attack? Often, the answer is not about them at all. Disrespect reveals weaknesses in the other person, their own dissatisfaction or their inability to cope with their life's frustrations. By recognizing this, strong people remove the personal sting from the words or actions directed at them. They understand that responding from emotion will not clarify the situation, it will only entangle them in someone else's turmoil. Another crucial action strong people take is they maintain clarity and focus on their higher purpose. Disrespect can be distracting, it can pull even the most disciplined minds into argument, resentment, or confusion, but strong individuals prioritize what truly matters in their life, their goals, their growth, their relationships that are genuine and nourishing. They do not allow a momentary lapse in judgment from another person to dictate their energy or decisions. They redirect the focus inward, asking themselves, how can I respond, if at all, in a way that honors my values? By keeping their eyes on the bigger picture, strong people transform a potentially destructive moment into an opportunity for demonstration of composure, intelligence, and integrity. Setting boundaries is another pillar of strength. Strong people assert themselves without aggression. When confronted with disrespect, they define limits clearly and calmly, without needing to argue, shout, or humiliate the other person. Boundaries are an unspoken language of power. They communicate, without words, that certain behavior is unacceptable, but that the individual responding remains grounded and dignified. For example, they may choose to step away from a toxic interaction, to reduce contact with someone consistently disrespectful, or to calmly express that their behavior is inappropriate. Boundaries protect energy, preserve peace, and demonstrate respect for oneself, which is far more influential than any heated argument. Strong individuals also cultivate emotional resilience, which allows them to separate feelings from reaction. Disrespect may trigger emotions, anger, frustration, disappointment, but these feelings do not dictate actions. They are acknowledged, processed, and then released without controlling behavior. This resilience is built over time through self-awareness, reflection, and disciplined practice. When a disrespectful comment is made, strong people can feel the emotional surge yet remain composed. They understand that reacting impulsively often harms themselves more than the person disrespecting them. Emotional resilience enables them to respond from wisdom rather than reaction, maintaining control over their life and energy. One of the most profound strategies strong people employ is the practice of patience and timing. They do not feel the need to immediately correct or retaliate. Instead, they choose to observe, wait, and act only when the response is meaningful, constructive, and aligns with their long-term goals. This patience is not passive, it is active mastery. It allows strong people to transform a moment of potential conflict into one of strategy and discernment. By waiting, they often find that the situation resolves itself naturally, that others reveal their true character, or that karma delivers consequences more effectively than any reaction could. Another defining characteristic is that strong people focus on self-improvement rather than revenge. They do not expend energy on diminishing those who disrespect them. Instead, they channel it toward becoming better versions of themselves. Every insult, every slight, every attempt at undermining becomes an opportunity for growth. They ask, how can I strengthen my mind, my discipline, my relationships, my presence? By elevating themselves instead of sinking into conflict, they demonstrate power in a way that cannot be replicated through aggression. Others notice this form of strength, and it commands respect naturally and effortlessly. Lastly, strong people trust in the natural consequences of actions, often referred to as karma. They understand that disrespect carries its own weight, and over time, those who act poorly face repercussions. Instead of seeking to control outcomes through retaliation, they focus on maintaining integrity, consistency, and self-respect. By letting the universe or the natural order handle justice, they remain free from the burden of resentment, exhaustion, or negativity. This is the ultimate demonstration of strength, when one can remain unshaken, patient, and steadfast while life balances itself around them. When you put all these behaviors together, you see a pattern of mastery. Strength is not noise, it is presence, it is discipline, composure, patience, integrity, and self-respect. Strong people do not need to prove themselves in the heat of the moment. They show their power by not being controlled by the moment. They demonstrate resilience by converting disrespect into clarity, learning, and personal growth. Their peace is unbreakable because it is cultivated intentionally, and their actions reflect a mastery that is undeniable. So remember this, being disrespected is inevitable, but being broken by disrespect is optional. True strength lies not in retaliation, not in aggression, and not in the fleeting satisfaction of immediate revenge. True strength lies in the ability to pause, reflect, set boundaries, maintain focus, practice patience, cultivate resilience, improve oneself, and trust in the natural order. By mastering these qualities, any person can face disrespect with dignity, power, and unwavering confidence. Strength is not always visible at first glance. Often, it is silent, calm, and steady, like a river carving its path through mountains. When someone disrespects you, the natural response might be to react quickly, to defend, to argue, to assert yourself with force, but true strength lies beyond immediate reactions. Strong people understand that how you respond to disrespect is more important than the disrespect itself. They know that reacting impulsively gives control of their energy to someone else, whereas responding with composure keeps their power within their own hands. In this sense, strength is not about winning arguments, it is about mastering your own mind, emotions, and reactions. The first thing strong people do when disrespected is they pause and breathe before responding. This pause may last just a few seconds, but in that short moment, power is reclaimed. When someone insults or undermines you, adrenaline surges through your body, urging immediate action. The ego whispers, defend yourself, prove them wrong, make them regret it. But strong individuals resist this impulse. They understand that words spoken in haste can escalate conflict, create regret, and diminish their dignity. By pausing, they allow themselves to breathe, to center, and to observe the situation objectively. This pause is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that your energy is yours to protect, not to give away in reaction to someone else's negativity. Another key behavior is they evaluate the source of the disrespect. Strong people recognize that disrespect often stems from the insecurities, jealousy, or immaturity of others. It is rarely a reflection of their own worth or abilities. Instead of internalizing the insult, they analyze the intent and character of the person who disrespected them. Was this a momentary lapse in judgment, a reflection of a stressful situation, or a deeper pattern of behavior? By discerning the source, they prevent themselves from reacting emotionally and instead respond strategically. This evaluation is critical because it turns what could be a moment of weakness into an opportunity for insight and understanding. Strong people also choose silence over confrontation when appropriate. This does not mean they accept disrespect passively, but they understand the power of non-reaction. Silence preserves energy, maintains dignity, and often speaks louder than words ever could. When someone expects a reaction and receives none, the imbalance shifts. The person who disrespected you is faced with the reality that their actions cannot control or provoke you. Silence is a shield, a tool, and a statement of inner mastery. It demonstrates that your peace and composure are far more valuable than proving a point or winning a fleeting argument. Reflection is another hallmark of strength. Strong individuals reflect deeply on incidents of disrespect to extract lessons. They ask themselves, what can I learn from this interaction? How can I strengthen my boundaries, my understanding of others, or my own emotional resilience? They transform a negative experience into a source of personal growth. Every slight insult or act of disrespect becomes an opportunity to cultivate patience, empathy, and strategic awareness. By reflecting instead of reacting, they turn adversity into a teacher, and in doing so they convert energy that could be wasted on anger into energy that fortifies their mind and spirit. Setting boundaries is a fundamental action. Strong people enforce their limits calmly and consistently. Boundaries are the invisible lines that protect energy, dignity, and self-respect. They do not require shouting, manipulation, or aggression to be effective. For example, choosing not to engage with a consistently disrespectful person, calmly stating that certain behavior is unacceptable, or creating distance where necessary, all communicate power without conflict. Boundaries signal to the world and to themselves that they value their own well-being above temporary satisfaction or the need to be liked by everyone. Emotional control is another pillar of strength. Disrespect often triggers feelings of anger, frustration, or hurt, but strong people manage these emotions rather than allowing emotions to manage them. They acknowledge their feelings without letting them dictate actions. Anger may arise, but it is observed, processed, and released without harming others or themselves. Emotional control is cultivated over time through mindfulness, self-awareness, and consistent practice. It allows strong individuals to remain composed under pressure, respond from wisdom rather than impulse, and maintain a sense of calm that others find magnetic and authoritative. Patience is another defining quality. Strong people know that immediate retaliation is rarely necessary, and that timing is crucial. They may allow a disrespectful situation to unfold, observing patterns and consequences, before choosing any response. This patience is a form of strategy, not passivity. It allows them to respond in a way that is meaningful and constructive, rather than impulsive and destructive. Sometimes, the most effective response is no response at all, letting the situation resolve naturally, or allowing karma to work on behalf of justice. Strong people also focus on their own growth rather than diminishing others. They channel their energy into improving themselves, physically, mentally, and spiritually, rather than seeking revenge or validation. They understand that building a stronger version of themselves not only strengthens their resilience, but also commands respect naturally. Energy spent on growth creates results, opportunities, and influence that far outweigh the fleeting satisfaction of retaliating against disrespect. Finally, strong people trust in natural consequences and the law of karma. They recognize that disrespectful actions carry their own consequences, and that life itself often balances the scales. By focusing on integrity, consistency, and personal growth, they allow the universe to handle justice. This trust frees them from the burden of resentment or obsession with retaliation, reinforcing their internal peace and mental clarity. In this way, their strength is not reactive, it is proactive, grounded, and unwavering. Through these principles, strong people turn moments of disrespect into demonstrations of their mastery. They pause, evaluate, reflect, enforce boundaries, control their emotions, act with patience, focus on self-improvement, and trust in natural consequences. They demonstrate that true strength is not measured by noise or aggression, but by composure, integrity, and resilience. By embodying these qualities, anyone can face disrespect with dignity, transforming challenges into opportunities for growth and demonstrating an unshakable inner power that commands respect without a single raised voice. Disrespect is an unavoidable part of life. No matter how accomplished, kind, or disciplined you are, there will always be people who try to diminish you, belittle your efforts, or undermine your confidence. What defines strong people is not the absence of disrespect in their lives, but the way they respond to it. Strength is measured not in the loudness of your voice, but in the firmness of your self-possession, the steadiness of your mind, and the clarity of your purpose when others attempt to disturb your peace. When faced with disrespect, strong people act deliberately, rooted in patience, wisdom, and integrity. They do not rush to defend themselves, nor do they allow anger or ego to dictate their actions. Instead, they cultivate a response that demonstrates mastery over their emotions and alignment with their higher purpose. The first thing strong people do when disrespected is they control their immediate emotional reaction. When insulted, criticized unfairly, or undermined, the initial response is usually emotional: anger, hurt, frustration, or indignation. Most people feel the urgent need to speak, argue, or prove themselves right, but strong individuals recognize that acting on this impulse often leads to regret, escalates conflict, and gives power to the one who disrespected them. They take a conscious breath, pause, and observe the situation objectively. By controlling their emotions in the moment, they maintain clarity, conserve energy, and ensure that any subsequent action is intentional rather than reactive. This is the first expression of true strength: self-control under pressure. Another essential quality is discernment. Strong people assess the situation before deciding how to respond. They ask themselves, who is this person? What motivates their behavior? Is this disrespect a reflection of my actions, or is it a reflection of their character and limitations? Understanding the source of the disrespect allows them to respond wisely rather than impulsively. Many people fail to recognize that insults, criticism, or belittling often say more about the person delivering them than the target. By observing without immediate judgment, strong individuals separate the actions of others from their own self-worth, preserving their peace and dignity. Strong people also maintain boundaries without aggression. Disrespect often violates personal, emotional, or professional limits, and responding without clarity can invite further conflict. Rather than reacting with anger or confrontation, they calmly assert their boundaries. This might involve disengaging from a toxic conversation, refusing to engage with disrespectful individuals, or calmly communicating that certain behaviors are unacceptable. Boundaries are a silent declaration of strength. They protect one's energy, demonstrate self-respect, and make it clear that their peace is not negotiable. Enforcing limits with calm authority is far more powerful than arguing, shaming, or retaliating, because it conveys mastery rather than vulnerability. Reflection is another critical tool. Strong people view disrespect as a mirror for growth. Each insult or slight is an opportunity to examine not only the behavior of others, but also their own responses and mindset. They ask, is there a lesson in this encounter? Is there a boundary I need to strengthen? Could my approach, my communication, or my actions be improved? Instead of allowing disrespect to breed resentment, they transform it into a source of self-awareness and personal development. This reflective approach converts negative energy into wisdom and resilience, turning challenges into tools for empowerment rather than sources of suffering. Emotional resilience is another defining characteristic. Strong people cultivate the ability to experience emotions fully, while not allowing those emotions to dictate behavior. Anger, frustration, or sadness may arise when disrespected, but they acknowledge these feelings internally without acting destructively. By practicing resilience, they maintain control over their energy, ensuring that their actions align with values rather than impulses. Emotional mastery allows them to navigate even the most challenging interactions with calm authority, signaling to the world that their inner state is not contingent on the behavior of others. Patience plays a key role in how strong people respond to disrespect. They understand that immediate retaliation is rarely necessary, and that timing is crucial. They allow situations to unfold naturally, observing patterns and consequences before acting. Sometimes the most effective response is deliberate silence, which allows others to reveal their true character and lets the natural order, karma, handle justice. Patience transforms a potentially chaotic interaction into a demonstration of control and composure, illustrating that strength is measured not by reaction but by restraint and discernment. Another hallmark is focus on self-improvement rather than revenge. Strong individuals channel their energy into becoming better, more disciplined, and more aligned with their values. Disrespect is a test of character, a moment to invest in growth rather than squandering energy on retaliation. By choosing personal development over retribution, they strengthen resilience, intelligence, and presence, all of which command respect without words. The energy spent on growth yields tangible results and long-term influence, far surpassing the temporary satisfaction of proving someone wrong. Finally, strong people trust in natural consequences and karma. They know that those who disrespect others often sow seeds that return to them. Instead of seeking revenge, they focus on maintaining integrity, staying consistent in their actions, and prioritizing their peace. This trust in the natural order allows them to remain detached from the negative behavior of others, while knowing that balance will eventually be restored. In doing so, they achieve a state of inner freedom and security, demonstrating that true power lies in alignment with principles, patience, and resilience, rather than confrontation or aggression. Through these practices, strong people transform moments of disrespect into demonstrations of mastery. They pause to center themselves, assess the situation with discernment, establish and enforce boundaries, reflect on lessons, cultivate emotional resilience, act with patience, invest in self-improvement, and trust in karma. Each action reinforces their internal authority, preserves energy, and maintains dignity. Disrespect cannot diminish them, because their strength is cultivated internally, independent of external opinions or behavior. True strength, therefore, is measured not by how aggressively you defend yourself, but by how consistently you protect your peace, uphold your boundaries, and act in alignment with your principles. It is the calm, unwavering presence that conveys more power than any shout or retaliation. By embodying these qualities, anyone can face disrespect with confidence, transforming challenges into opportunities for growth, clarity, and influence, and demonstrating a mastery of life that inspires respect without needing to demand it. Disrespect is a universal challenge, yet how we respond to it defines the course of our lives. True strength is not measured by the loudness of a rebuttal, the sharpness of a comeback, or the immediate satisfaction of retaliation. It is measured by the ability to maintain composure, act with integrity, and protect one's energy even when others attempt to disturb it. Strong people understand this principle deeply. Responding impulsively may satisfy the ego momentarily, but it rarely produces lasting respect, peace, or positive outcomes. Strength manifests in restraint, in patience, and in the quiet power of measured action. The first thing strong people do when they encounter disrespect is they refuse to take it personally. Often when someone insults, belittles, or undermines us, the initial reaction is to feel attacked or diminished. But strong individuals recognize that disrespect usually reflects the limitations, insecurities, or frustrations of the other person rather than their own worth. They do not absorb negativity into their self-perception. By maintaining an understanding that the disrespectful behavior belongs to the other person and not to themselves, strong people remain grounded. They refuse to allow someone else's poor choices to dictate their emotional state or diminish their self-esteem. Strong people also pause to observe and analyze the situation. This pause is not hesitation, it is deliberate reflection. When confronted with disrespect, the temptation is to react quickly, to defend, correct, or retaliate. But strong individuals recognize that impulsive reactions often escalate conflicts, create misunderstandings, and divert energy from meaningful action. By pausing, they create space to assess the intent, the context, and the implications of the disrespect. They ask themselves, why did this occur? What motivates the other person? How does this impact me and my goals? This reflective approach allows them to respond strategically rather than emotionally, ensuring that their actions are aligned with long-term wisdom rather than momentary impulses. Another defining behavior is the enforcement of clear boundaries. Strong people understand that disrespect often arises when personal, emotional, or professional limits are crossed. They do not allow these violations to continue unchecked. However, rather than reacting with aggression, They set boundaries calmly, assertively, and consistently. This might involve choosing not to engage with toxic individuals, verbally stating that certain behavior is unacceptable, or physically removing themselves from harmful situations. Boundaries communicate strength more effectively than anger or retaliation. They protect energy, preserve dignity, and ensure that peace is maintained without compromising integrity. Reflection is also central to how strong people respond to disrespect. They extract lessons from every negative encounter. Each insult, slight, or act of condescension provides insight into human behavior, relationships, and even personal growth opportunities. They ask themselves, how can I become more resilient, disciplined, and strategic? What patterns in others or in myself need attention? By converting negative experiences into sources of wisdom, strong individuals transform what could be a demoralizing event into a teaching moment. Disrespect becomes a tool for self-mastery, enhancing emotional intelligence, patience, and discernment. Emotional resilience is a cornerstone of strength. Disrespect naturally triggers feelings, anger, frustration, hurt, but strong people experience these emotions without allowing them to dictate behavior. They acknowledge their feelings internally, process them thoughtfully, and release them without acting destructively. Emotional mastery allows them to maintain composure in the face of provocation, ensuring that responses are deliberate and effective. It demonstrates that true power lies in control over one's own mind and energy, not in attempting to control or punish others. Strong people also practice patience and timing. They do not feel compelled to respond immediately, nor do they seek revenge. They allow situations to unfold naturally, observing the consequences of the other person's actions over time. Sometimes, the best response is deliberate silence, allowing the disrespectful behavior to reveal itself fully. Often the universe or natural law delivers justice without any interference. Patience amplifies strength because it demonstrates an understanding of timing, strategy, and the enduring impact of measured action. Another essential principle is that strong people focus on self-improvement rather than retaliation. Instead of expending energy to diminish or punish someone who disrespects them, they redirect that energy into enhancing their own life, character, and abilities. Disrespect becomes a motivator for growth. They ask, how can I become more disciplined, wise, and capable? How can I invest in relationships and endeavors that bring lasting value? By focusing inward rather than outward, strong people cultivate a life of purpose and integrity, which naturally commands respect far more effectively than any reactive behavior. Finally, strong individuals trust in karma and the natural consequences of actions. They understand that disrespect carries its own energy, and that over time, those who act poorly will face the outcomes of their behavior. Instead of seeking to control the results or satisfy immediate urges for justice, they focus on living consistently with their values and maintaining inner peace. This trust frees them from resentment, obsessive thinking, and unnecessary conflict. By aligning with the natural order, they demonstrate that strength is not reactive, it is proactive, rooted in wisdom, and grounded in long-term vision. Through these principles, strong people turn moments of disrespect into demonstrations of mastery. They refuse to internalize insult, they pause to observe, they set and enforce boundaries, they reflect and learn, they cultivate emotional resilience, they act with patience, they invest in self-growth, and they trust the natural flow of justice. These actions reveal a quiet, unshakable power. Strength is not measured in confrontation or retaliation. It is measured in the ability to remain composed, aligned, and undisturbed even when others attempt to provoke or diminish you.